Hello, happy Friday. Feliz viernes a todos, a todas. Hey, everybody. Like I said, we would be live on Friday in addition to our regular Tuesday live. And I am joined by two superstars, the co-founders of Exodus Summit, who I am very fortunate to call friends of mine, Roshida Dowe and Stephanie Perry. Yay, yay.
Hi, Adelia.
Welcome back to the channel. Y'all are like OGs. Like you were on the podcast before there was ever even a YouTube channel.
And you have been a guest of ours on everything we've ever done in our lives. So y'all, this is family.
We go together. So
Real bad.
nobody ever says Stephanie. They be like Stephanie, Adelia, Roshida. We need a thruple name. We need a name.
Oh.
I called us the dream
Let's
team
not
earlier.
I was gonna say, let's not use the word throuple though.
Oh, I've advertised out in the world that I'm looking for a wife. Okay. Listen, I need somebody to help
saw
around the
that.
house. I need some house
I
help.
saw that.
And she wouldn't even take your top off. I still don't understand.
Won't even what?
Take your top off yesterday when you were at
Like how you expect to get a wife if you won't take your top off.
Listen, put it out there.
There is you know how Facebook serves up memories. I think it was like 2009. I made some post about, I sure wish I had a wife.
Mhm.
Mind you, I was married at the time.
Yeah.
Which just speaks to the labor that wives do.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well,
okay, but I want to ask a question. Adelia, do you think Stephanie said yesterday she thinks men are onto something. I don't think they're onto something. I think the thing they're onto is generally abuse and taking advantage of people. I don't think they're smarter.
Yes,
those
I
things
would
are not
agree.
mutually exclusive. Just because you're smarter doesn't mean you're not a person who would take advantage of other people.
Right, but I don't think they're doing it. I don't think the men have the wife thing locked down in a good way because they're smarter. I think they have the wife thing locked down in a good way because of patriarchy.
Yeah.
And abuse.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't say they were smarter. You will never hear me say men are smarter. Nothing. Okay. No, I just said that their strategy, their system, it works.
Well, yes, in that having a woman like manage your life, yes, that's a win. I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, no, I give them nothing.
Give them nothing.
I agree. I agree. We're in agreement here.
Okay.
We're in agreement on this.
All right.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
This is not why Adelia has us here today, I don't think.
I was going to say, anybody watching this, probably this is exactly what they tuned in. But there is the small chance that there are like brand new people that the algorithm has brought us to their feed. And I have introduced you to as the co-founders of Exodus Summit, but I didn't explain what Exodus Summit was. Would one of you ladies like to do that?
Yeah. Exodus Summit is an online conference that happens annually for Black women who want to move abroad. Other Black women who are experts in a particular thing come and teach them how to do it. So it's an annual conference. It's also a community, a big old community of Black women who are into this kind of conversation, right? Who are into the idea of this, I want a different life, or I want to do things a different way for me and for my family. And I think that answer is moving abroad. So Exodus Summit is also a community, and Exodus Summit is also some events, some things that happen around the world where we can help you get a taste of what it's like. We like to do little sneak attack meetups in different parts of the world where women show up thinking they're just there for the little meetup, and they end up like not going back home, or if they do go back home, they go back home to get their stuff and leave and come back out in the streets. So Exodus Summit is basically for Black women who are for the streets. For Black women who think that there's a different way to do things in their life, and that may mean moving to another country.
Okay. All
That was
right.
a long answer.
And speaking of those sneak attacks and meetups, y'all have a meetup tomorrow.
Yes. I keep forgetting that I'm hosting a meetup tomorrow in Mexico City, but I am. Tomorrow is October 4th, is International Exodus Summit Meetup Day. So we have right now about 25 meetups planned around the world, and hopefully we'll get a little higher number, where women in the place they live or a place they're visiting this weekend are meeting up with other Black women who live in the place or also visiting the place, so they can be in community with other people doing the same thing they are. Because one of the things that people often worry about, especially Black women who are used to be in communities, they worry when they think about traveling the world or moving somewhere else, loneliness is something that comes up often. And one way to beat loneliness is to get in community. So we are really excited about the meetups scheduled for tomorrow. All of those meetups can be found in our new private community, which you can find at exodussummit.com/community if you're interested in going to one of those.
Okay. So if you're a Black woman and this is the first time you've seen any of us, or the first time you've ever heard of any of this, go to exodussummit.com/community, join the community. You will find a plethora of Black women there from all walks of life trying to go all over the world. And maybe you can find a meetup in your area tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I have not bothered to introduce myself. My name is Adelia Roshida. This is my channel. Who am I? I am a financial educator. I am a world traveler, and I live in the wonderful city of Mexico City, Mexico. So,
Also, Adelia is a young retiree. Adelia is a person who got a handle on her money when she decided that she wanted to live her life on her own terms, and got a handle on her money in a relatively short period of time, to now be this young retiree who lives her life in Mexico City, who just came back from a phenomenal. I try not to be a jealous-hearted person, but I am so jealous of the sewing retreat that Adelia just came back from in Scotland, a place I've never been, doing a thing I've never done. I'm still very jealous. Adelia gets to live her life her way, because she decided she was going to take money and living into her own hands, instead of keep going down the path that the United States, that Black excellence, that capitalism told her she should do. Everyone's got their own agency, but not everyone is using it like Adelia uses her agency.
you're really good at that. Maybe you should do this for a living.
Show up every week and do the intro.
Yeah.
Record
But
this, play it back, and just cut and paste it, or just use the audio. Use the audio.
Yeah. That's smart. That's smart.
Mhm.
Yeah, everything Stephanie just said is true. I'd be forgetting to mention it sometimes, but yeah, I'm out here living the retired life and doing the things that I want to do every day, which sometimes is nothing. But that is not why we're here today. We are not here to talk about that, not necessarily. What we are here to talk about, this is kind of funny because it comes from a comment that has been made at least on every one of our channels at some point, and probably during a live stream where we are talking about our life abroad. I live in Mexico City. I left the United States a little bit over 9 years ago. Stephanie lives in Bogota, Colombia. She just celebrated 10 years outside the United States. Roshida also lives in Mexico City, and you've been gone, because I can't do math.
7
6
years. 7 years.
7 years? Okay, 7 years. And it never fails that when we're online talking about our life abroad, how other people can move abroad, somebody makes the comment of, well, Black people shouldn't leave the US and it's not going to work out. They're going to get out there, they're going to fail, and they're going to have to come back. Like, there is no such thing as leaving the US and like not coming back.
Yeah, people are super is people are super emotionally connected to a place that really hates them, right? Like they're really emotionally they have a vested interest in us staying in a place that we weren't happy in a place that they're not happy in, and they're really loud and vocal about it.
Yeah. And the loud and vocal never makes sense to me, because like, you on the internet talking about I'm going to fail. Why you sound like a failure? Why are you out here wishing bad on other people? Like what right? Like, I lead with joy. Joy is my compass. We're joy's over there, I'm going over there. So to spend your time online telling strangers that their life choices are bad, or they can't be successful, or it can't be done when they've been doing it for years, never makes sense to me. Never makes
That
sense.
literally just happened. I think was it your live on Saturday, Stephanie? Or maybe it was the week before, but like somebody just was in the comments like, why are y'all telling people to leave? They're just gonna fail. This doesn't work. And here are 3 people showing you it does.
You could, like, Stephanie always says, like, if you're drowning, reach out and let somebody help, grab somebody. But instead, people who feel like they're drowning often grab somebody else and drown them too, right? Like, what's this negativity about? What are we doing? What are we doing? Instead of just saying, like, how did you do it, which we're talking about today? How did you do it, and how can I do it too? Which which I'm no therapist, but I think your therapist, who you probably don't have either if you're doing the negative stuff online. I think your therapist would tell you there's a difference between how did you do it and how can I do it, and you're going to fail. Like, there's a different mindset there. And that's something you should work out in therapy with your therapist. Go get help. All right. Now, back to it.
Also, if we were men, nobody would discount our experiences, but we can say all day, I can live stream my entire day and still people would say, she's miserable, she's lonely, she's going to fail, it's not going to work, right? If we were men, they would just believe what we say.
Right. The other part of that is they're just out there having sex with everybody. And also at the same time, they're going to be alone forever.
Which one?
What is that word?
Come out if we were men, right? If we were men doing that, showing you the same lives, people wouldn't be concerned about what our penis is doing, right? But here, people project these diametrically opposed lives on us because women apparently women's main concern is, like, I don't know, being with a man, sleeping with a man, something with a man. And so that's the thing that is projected by strangers a lot. You're going to run out of money. You're never going to see a penis again. Or you're going to run out of money and you're going to be on the track, right? Giving it up for 3 pesos because that's what you have to do. And it's like, can I just eat snacks and watch TV? Like, that's what I'm doing. What?
Or that inherently you're going to another country, you're going to struggle there.
Yeah.
Like that a good life, a better life, a peaceful life isn't even possible. So I think we're in agreement that, yeah, you can leave the US and not return. Because I know with no intention to ever go back. And that's part of how I ended up in Mexico City. When my job in Honduras, flipped the script on me, I was like, well, I don't want to go back to the US. Yeah. Where can I go and hang out for a little bit while I decide, do I want to get another job or whatever? And that's how I ended up here. I know, Roshida, when you left, you weren't necessarily thinking about being gone forever.
I was planning on being gone for a year, which felt like long enough until I was gone for like 3 months. And then I was like, what if I never came back?
Mm-hmm.
What if never was like, what if it was possible? I mean, even when like 6 months into my trip, it felt like something I wanted, but not like something that was realistic. Like I said, when I was in Mexico City one time with a friend, I said, why don't I live here? And she was like, well, why don't you? And I was like, if I carry the two and divide by 7, it's just paperwork. It's just paperwork and some time, right? It's literally just some paperwork and some time. And now years later, I'm a permanent resident of Mexico, and they can't get rid of me unless, like, oh no, I try to do something real bad, right? Like I'm doing some terrible stuff in the streets. They could probably get rid of me, but otherwise, like I can be here as long as I want. If I want to be here one day a year, I'm here one day a year. If I want to be here 366, I'm here 366.
What about you, Stephanie? Was that your plan to like not come back?
No, I was gone for, I didn't have any money. I didn't have enough money to go forever, right? I had enough money to be gone for a year. When I did go back, after being gone for exactly 1 year, when I did go back to the United States, I was like, I don't care what I have to do. I can't live here. I can't, this place is hard. This place is not, it's unforgiving for Black women. It's punishing. This country is punishing to Black women, to me. And I want to be a whole person and I want to live a whole life. So I had to figure it out. I had to figure the money out afterwards. I thought 1 year was going to be plenty. I thought I'm going to see the world. First of all, I thought I was going to see the world in a year. Turns out, no, there's so much left to see. I thought I was going to see everything I was interested in. There was so much left to see. But returning, not an option. Wasn't it? Staying in the US was not an option for me then in 2016. It's not an option for me today.
So then that begs the question, if you can leave the US and never have to come back, how do you do that? Does it take a lot of planning?
So I've never been on, I think backing up a second, we should talk about what never coming back looks like. When I left for my sabbatical, I was like, this is not what you should do. I made mistakes. I openly share my mistakes. When I left for my sabbatical, my thought was, this will be a success if I do not come back to the US for this year. Why? Why does it what calling one thing a success and one thing a failure in a sabbatical or move abroad or really any part of your life can lead to judgments that aren't necessary, right? Like 3 months into my sabbatical, my dad died, and I could not go to the funeral and have my sabbatical be a success, or I could go back to the US and now under the terms that I laid out ahead of time is a failure. Okay, so I failed. I went to that man's funeral, right? I left promptly afterwards, but I went, right? When I had been in Mexico for 6 months, I went to the US for 1 week and I got trapped there for a year because I needed urgent knee surgery all of out the blue. Showed up in the US and my body started breaking down. I needed urgent knee surgery. And then COVID happened and I couldn't really go anywhere. So like I planned not going back for me means I don't have any plans to live there again. And in this current climate, I have limited the amount of times I will go to the US. There are things I miss out on, right? Because I won't go back to the US right now. But I'm never going to step foot on those grounds again, right? Like, I think that those are the terms people need to figure out for themselves. Does it make sense to go back once a year for a month? So we have a friend, a woman in our community, Ava, who does that. So she can spend the holidays with her family because that's really important to her, right? She's still gone a lot of a year, bopping all around the world. But what does not going back look like? Does it mean you don't live there full time? Or does that mean you never set foot in there again? Or is it something in the middle that feels right for you? So that's what I think people should consider ahead of time. And also, if you're outside of those terms, because because something happened. It's not a failure. It's not your fault that man died when he did. How rude. How 3 months? Ooh. Anyway, selfish.
That is an important thing to mention, because when I transitioned from Mexico to Kuwait, I needed to do visa stuff, and I did not have the Spanish to do that here. I'm not even sure I could have done it here in Mexico, but there were, you know, fingerprints and background checks and all kind of stuff that needed to be done. So I went to the US for about a month. And then same thing when I escaped Kuwait before I moved to China. I hung out stateside for about a month. But for me, moving abroad and never going back, staying gone for me is I do not want to live there ever again.
Yeah, I don't anticipate ever having a residence in the United States again, right? But I'm going back because I like plush towels and comfortable sheets. You got to go back to the United States and get that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, you're not going to get it where you're going. I'm not finding it in Bogota. There's rich people in Bogota, but I'm pretty sure they fly to Miami and get their bedding, right? So going back, and my parents are in the United States. I go back. But I don't have any, I cannot foresee what would make me have another residence there, would make me want to have a life there again.
When I'm going back at the end of this year, not by a travel arrangement is forcing me to go back to Florida, where is usually where I hang out with my family. So it worked out well. But I definitely have I started sending packages to my cousin's house in like December of last year. She's been keeping packages for me for a whole year. And when I leave, because some things are just, I'm not in a rush for them, and they're just so much cheaper in the US, or I can get things that I don't. Listen, if you want to shop, not if you want great prices, but if you want good selection and options, the US is, and comfort, the US is hard to beat. So if I have to go back to the US, like this travel arrangement is making me do, a full suitcase is coming back with me, a full suitcase of stuff, right? Because if I can get, a new laptop for half the price, I can get it here, I'm going to do that. Right. So
I do wonder how much longer that is going to last, given
True.
how things look right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that,
go ahead.
The tariffs conversation is going to expand to other countries in a retaliatory way, right? Like in Mexico now, we're paying tariffs on things that we didn't have to pay before. And it's like I ordered something from a website 2 months ago when I went to reorder it, and now there are tariffs on it. And I was like, two months?
It's a US made product, or it's from somewhere else?
It's coming from the US.
Okay.
And Mexico's like, you paying for this now.
Yeah.
But now we have to pay tariffs on stuff from China that we didn't have to pay before. Like I just got a notification. I ordered some fabric from Canada, and it just hit in Toluca outside of Mexico City. And it's like, let's find out how much they're going to charge me. Because what was it? 3 years ago, I could order stuff and not pay any tariffs at all. So that has changed on our end too, but all right. So one of the things that I think people often think is, well, okay, if y'all have made this move, we will call it a permanent move outside the US. It must have taken tons and tons of planning. Like, how many years in advance did you start mapping out this move?
When I made my move, I showed up to Mexico with 2 suitcases. I was in an Airbnb for a little while, and then I moved into a co-living space, which I don't recommend that specific co-living space. I'm never going to name them. I moved into a co-living space, and I was like, and now that I'm here, I hadn't even done paperwork yet. I hadn't applied for anything. I was like, I'll figure it out when I get there. And because of the knee surgery I had to have, I didn't figure it out that time, but I figured it out when I was back in the US recovering from that surgery. So it wasn't even like It was like going to, I don't know, you leave Ohio in February because it's been gray for 5 months. And now you're like, let me go to Jamaica for a week to get some sunshine. I did this every year, every February when I lived there. Let me go somewhere for a week to get some sunshine, and then just staying, right? Just staying until your visitor visa, your tourist visa is up, and then figuring out what's next. Like that's really, you don't need more thought than that, unless your life at home has things you have to work out ahead of time, right?
Mhm.
Like if you have I was coming off of a sabbatical, so I'd already gotten rid of my apartment. I already put my stuff in storage, which don't do that either. My dog had been rehomed to live with one of my really good friends. All of those things were already taken care of. If you have to take care of those things, that's more back end work, right? That you have to do. But the actual planning of where you're going to go, and that you can do that in a week or less if you want to.
I think my planning to leave the US took me about 2 weeks. Now, the fulfillment, like to get the money, the plan, 2 weeks. Now, it took me 15 months to get the money up, right? It took me 15 months to get to a point where I could have the money to be gone for a year and not have to think about money for that year. But the actual planning, like where do I go? How does my passport get me entry into these places that I want to visit? Where do I go? Because I bopped around, right? 12 countries in 12 months. The actual leaving, the planning, in 2 weeks, I had a plan down on paper. And maybe less than, like Roshida said, maybe a week, I had the plan down on paper. It's not, and as a solo person, maybe if you have kids and you want to figure out how you're going to school the kids, you're going to homeschool or you're going to put them in an international school, that's a different question. If you have a health condition and you want to find some places that have specialists for your condition, right? That's an extra couple of days work. But we're not talking about 5 years. Every time I hear someone, especially today in the current climate in the United States, every time I hear someone talking about, I'm going to leave in 3 or 4 years, I'm going to leave when my kid graduates from high school, my kid's in middle school today. And I'm like, they don't take all that. It don't take all that. You could be gone.
I was one of those. I'll leave when my kid graduates from high school. And then I looked around and was like, or maybe I could just leave now. And honestly, I didn't do the first move. I didn't do a lot of planning because I had a job. So I I was like, when are y'all sending the tickets? I think that the biggest part of the planning was downsizing my life because both of you stayed abroad, moved abroad after a sabbatical.
Yeah.
I went from my regular life and, I left in July and I started selling things in February.
Okay. Okay. I want to ask about a question I don't think I've ever talked to you about before. So I don't know if you want to talk about it online, but what was the situation? Because you left with your daughter, who has a father.
Unfortunately.
What was that, the process, not the process of like shedding him as a husband and father, but like, what was the process of leaving with her, like, in the sense that like he had to be okay with it?
I think I had it a little easier because she was 15. Had she been 4, there might have been more drama about the situation. But we had gotten divorced the year prior, and the custody arrangement was she could live wherever she wanted. And so we were splitting things 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And then I said, hey, this is this thing I'm going to do. And surprisingly, given what a contrary person he is, he did not immediately be like, oh, no, you're not going to take my child. I think he thought, oh, we'll leave it up to her and she'll choose to stay. And then therefore I win. And initially she did. Because when I said, okay, I'm going to go, I'd like you to come with me. I'll even look for jobs in countries. Like if there's a specific country you're interested in, I'll look for a job there. And she was like, no, I'm not interested. You could just go and do your thing. And so I moved forward on the position I ended up getting in Honduras. And it was after that had been settled, she was like, is that offer still there? And so we initially were like swapping holidays or whatever. And so I proposed, I was like, well, she's coming with me. Then you can get her for like the holidays and summer. It surprisingly, it was not contentious. Um, and I think part of that was because she was older, and part of that was because I think he thought it was going to work out better for him.
Better for him as in she would say, of course I'm choosing my daddy, or better for him as in it would be like easier and something?
I think both. I think at first it was like, well, obviously she'll choose me. Who wants to go to Honduras? And then when she chose to go to Honduras, I think it was like, bet me and my new family will be great without her around.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm putting words in that man's mouth because I don't know, because I tried to talk to him as little as I possibly could.
I think it's so much interesting because we have so many women in the Exodus Summit community who have said, hey, you can make the choice. And I'm gonna tell you, at least 9 times out of 10, when the child chooses the father, it lasts like 2 months, if that. And then every time the women are like, I got to figure out a plan for my child because they don't want to be with their father anymore. And I really think
I told you men are onto something.
Parenting classes or something.
I told you. No responsibility, no work. They on.
You know how many women have been like, I have made a plan, and now they're like, got to change the plan because she said she's not living with him, right? Like she said, absolutely not. Now she's done it for a while, and you know they might be on something.
Yeah. So I think if you are in this situation, I think it's you might as well start planning the contingency, right? If your child has said they're going to stay with their father, you may want to start figuring out a B plan in case that doesn't work. Because Rashida's right. I can only think of one woman I know, and she wasn't even in our community. One woman I know whose child stayed with the father and stayed with the father, right?
Now she eventually went back because there were some extracurricular activities she wanted to do that I could not provide abroad, but I did, because I know moms have a lot of guilt. And despite the fact that there being two people who made the child, they often feel like, oh, this is all my responsibility. I made a point to make sure she knew that wherever I ended up in the world, like there was going to be a room for her. She could come. And she came and visited here, but she was like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to live abroad again with you because she's young and won't go do her own thing.
Yeah.
So y'all are saying it doesn't necessarily take a lot of planning.
No, I think that there are people who would be uncomfortable with the lack of planning, right? There is a personality type who would hate going the way that we have done it, or the way that most people do it. So there, you have to know yourself, and also you have to be willing to stretch a little and do some things in a way that you're not used to doing because this is a thing you're not used to doing. But no, it doesn't take a crazy amount of planning. You need to know where you're going, how much it costs there, and where your money is coming from. You need to know what you're going to do with your people and your pets, whether it's your children or your parents or whatever. You need to know what you're going to do about your home and all your stuff. And you need to know about what you're going to do about healthcare. Do you need some residency or tourist visa or anything? Can you just show up, or do you need to do some paperwork ahead of time? And you need to know how you take action in the face of fear. That's how you move abroad, right? Those are the things that you do to leave the country, whether you're leaving the country to go to one place, or you're leaving the country to bop around the world, or you're leaving the country to go and then come back and then go and come back, which is valid too.
And a little over almost a year ago, y'all launched a program that helps people do and figure out all of that. I say people, Black women. That's who y'all are helping.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. We launched it last November. It's called Exodus ASAP. November. I can't even remember her. But it's the goal is to have a space, a membership. So we've been doing Exodus Summit once a year for 6 years, and the feedback we got frequently is, but I didn't hear about you guys. You do it in the fall. I didn't hear about you guys until the spring. What do you have for me now?
Yeah.
Today. What can I do today? And so we started the membership so that we would have something today. We just coached in it last night. And so there is like weekly coaching, and there is all the previous content in the membership. And we go through the plan to help you move abroad, and we have accountability groups and all those things so that a woman who wants to leave in a month, right, has a support group they can join today to help them get out in a month, and they don't have to wait on the summit coming around for a year.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. I just suggested it to somebody. Somebody reached out to me because of the upcoming summit. And then I was like, well, like the Exodus Summit this year is about move abroad money. But I was like, if they need like more support, I was like, Exodus ASAP is here. And like that didn't exist when I moved abroad. And there was definitely a difference between when your employer moves you and when you've got to navigate all this stuff yourself and you don't speak the language. That was definitely different.
Yeah. Yeah. So when
But
you were a teacher, Adelia was a teacher, friends. And so you got a job through an agency who got you a job in the international school, or did you apply through the school directly?
I went to a job fair.
Okay.
Like the day I decided, I'm going to look into this, I discovered that weekend there is a job fair for schools in Latin America, because as I had been kicking the idea around about where to go, I kept coming back to, I want to learn Spanish. So I was like, I guess that means I need to work in Latin America. Just so happens that weekend there is a job fair for Latin American schools. And literally the first table I walked to when I walked into the job fair had a position that it was almost like somebody had taken my resume, because I had been teaching advanced placement, but I had also spent time doing instructional design and what is the other, tech integration. And they needed somebody to go over their tech integration, be over the director of that, but they also wanted that person to teach an AP class. So
that's
I was
amazing.
like, well, I guess this is my job. and it was.
That's
And
wonderful.
it was.
So did the school tell you what all was involved? Like, did you know what they were doing behind the scenes to get you your residency and your this and your that? Or did they just say, show up?
I knew they were going to get me the work visa, but I did not know the ins and outs of that. And, it varies by country. So there was literally no paperwork. I don't even know that the Honduran government even asked for my degree. I think I might have submitted that as part of my application, but I don't know that the government ever did.
Okay.
And you contrast that with Kuwait, where I had to get my documents apostilled and what's the other thing? Where some of my documents had to go to the State Department. I had to have a physical before I went. I had to do all this other stuff. So that varied too. And technically, I came to Honduras on a tourist visa. I didn't realize that because I wasn't asking no questions. We went to immigration, and the people from the school went with me, like to open a bank account, to get my visa, to do all of that.
Oh, okay. So then how much planning would you say it took for you? You talked about the
None.
February to June to take care of all of your things.
That was the planning I did. Once I applied for the job and I got my offer letter and I accepted it. They took care of everything else. When it came, and then mind you, I took the job and it was just going to be me and the dog. And then I was like, hey, I've got this 15-year-old who needs to go to school somewhere because she come to y'all school. And they were like, great, part of your package includes tuition, but she needs to meet our entrance qualifications. And I wasn't sure she was going to meet them because having she was at that point where like ninth graders haven't figured out that like school is real and like you got to do your homework and that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, dude, if you can't get in, you can't come. Because I was like, I can't, I don't know how to educate you in that particular location. Because public schools were not an option. But she got in, and so
Okay.
and they took care of all of that.
Okay. All right.
The other
And
thing
so-
that people would say, what?
I was going to say, for any teachers out there who are thinking about the same thing, we have a panel this year at Exodus Summit about teaching abroad. And we have 2 women who were in education, like Adelia, before they moved abroad. And we have 1 woman who was not in education, but is now teaching abroad after getting her TEFL certificate. So whether teaching is something you're already doing or something you think you could possibly try, I think that panel is going to be great for someone who doesn't want to do all the planning that Adelia talked about. Just have someone else take care.
Yep.
You'll take care of it all for me. You go into the office to do the paperwork and come with me to the bank if that's what you're looking for, and you are willing to or you want to work when you live abroad. I think that teaching abroad panel and learning how to do it from scratch if you're not already a teacher is a really good session for you to attend next time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I forgot about that teaching abroad session. Yeah, because when I came here to Mexico and it was like, okay, I've been staying in an Airbnb and now I've got to get my own apartment. How does that work? When I was in Honduras, they were like, okay, so you are bringing your daughter and your dog. We know of this place. Here are some pictures. Like they did all of that. They knew the right neighborhoods that would be appropriate for a foreigner to live in. And I had to figure all that stuff out on my own when I came here. And I did not have a great deal of Spanish when I came here. So it was an exciting time.
Was it exciting?
It was an exciting time. I learned a lot. But I told my daughter this all the time. Like, if you can live in Honduras day to day, do life in Honduras, I was like, you can do anything. So
That's right.
I figured it out. I got it together.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, planning. The other thing that people often think like, well, this is why you can't leave the US and just be gone forever is money, because you have to have a lot of money, right?
I used to think that. I really did think the only way you could leave the United States and live, so you got to be independently wealthy. You have to be the daughter of somebody, the son of somebody. But absolutely not, because people are out here living on you did a video, $1,500 a month in a lot of places in the world that you would be really happy. A lot of places in the world that you would really love. You need to have either a source of income, which can include Social Security and pension or alimony or whatever, lottery winnings, right? You need to have some money coming in, or you need to have a stash of cash. But the total dollar figure would surprise most people. Even though I'm not living on a budget in Bogota, I'm not living, right? Every time I say the number I'm paying for rent, people are like, why would you do that? Right? I pay $2,100 a month for rent, even in Bogota, Colombia, right? But so I'm not living on a budget, but where was I going with this? I'm 51 now. I was going to say something else about the money and I could do it on a significantly lower amount.
You have done it on a budget. When you came back from your sabbatical, I believe you told me you had $38.
Yeah.
Total.
I left the United States with $14,400, and I wanted to be gone for 12 full months, and I made it. I flew back. When I flew back into JFK Airport, I didn't have enough money to get home to Delaware. My parents came and got me. I was like, my cousin Marcy and I were in Paris for my last hurrah, right? The last few days. And I was like, Marcy, I think I may need to withdraw some money from my 401k, my 403b is what I had. And she was like, do it. And she's very responsible. And I was like, no, not this time. I have withdrawn money. But I was like, not this time. I'm just going to go home. I called my parents. I was like, I think I'm coming home. Can y'all come and get me at the airport? Because I can't get home any other way. $14,400 lasted me a full year, $1,200 per month. I don't know where in the US I would be able to live on $1,200 per month. But I did that in Southeast Asia, and it was no sweat. I probably tracked my money for a total of 3 or 4 weeks to make sure I was staying within budget. And then after that, right, no sweat. I know how to stay within budget. I'm within budget.
And for me, when I actually did the first part of my move, I moved into a co-living space. It was because it's a co-living space, it's more than just renting a room from a stranger. It costs a little bit more. But if I remember correctly, I paid about $500 a month for that room when I first moved here. And so if we're talking about living under $1,500 a month, if my rent is $500, I got $1,000 to spend on shoes and plantain chips, right? Like, what are my other expenses, right? Healthcare here is really affordable in comparison to healthcare in the U.S. Food is one of the most inexpensive things you can find in Mexico City. If my housing is only $500 a month, I'm balling out the rest and coming in. I can come in under $1,000 a month every month, right? And I'm not coming in under $1,000 a month in the U.S. and anywhere that I want to be, right? And so the not having a strong plan, this is what I'm going to do, didn't impact my budget in a way that made it unlivable, right? What it allowed me to do, coming down here and having a room that costs $500 a month, it allowed me to not worry about money, right? I wasn't having money coming in, but I still had some savings left. And say I was spending $750 a month, I had some months on me, right, of savings where I could say, this is what I'm going to do. So when you think about, a lot of times we talked about this last night a bit in coaching. A lot of times people are worried about like not having a cushion, but how much of a cushion do you really need? If your monthly expenses are $750 or $1,000, you don't need a $30,000 cushion. Right? What's you cushioning for, right? Get some health insurance, right? Get some travel and health insurance. Get some health insurance that will help you out where you go. Stephanie's annual policy is $1,800. 15 or 18?
1,800.
1,800 in Bogota. Adelia, do you have insurance now?
I do, but Stephanie's insurance is way better than mine.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if that's the difference between the insurance industries here and there. My policy was about $1,600. And it's basically catastrophic coverage because that's the norm here.
Right.
And if I have to use it, my deductible, because I got the lowest premium because I didn't think I'd have to use it. But my deductible is more than my premium. So
okay,
that irritates me. But that is the nature of insurance here. But I can tell you, after I got divorced and I had to start paying for insurance, I think I was paying something like $300 out of every paycheck, and my paychecks were not very big.
Yep.
So yeah,
every time
$1,500, and my previous policy was like in 2020 was like $1,400.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, the cushion you think you need may not be the cushion you actually need. You may be making this harder on yourself, right? If you can live for $1,000 a month, how many months of cushion do you need? With health insurance, say put $2,000 away for a deductible in case something catastrophic happens if you have insurance like Adelia. That's a $2,000 cushion. Maybe you add number 3 to it. Maybe it's a $5,000 cushion. And I would say that for most people, you don't need your full cushion when you move. In fact, it will be easier to create the cushion after you move as your expenses. If you move to a place where your expenses go down, right? It's easier to have that money. If you have any income streams, right? A little light fraud, whatever you're doing with your life, whatever that is, it's easier to make the cushion when you're already abroad.
I think Libria talking the other day about debt and how it's just easier to pay down your debt once you leave. So many people get focused, excuse me, on the paying it all off or paying it all down before they go. But like, it's easier if you move from a place where your rent, we talked to a woman the other day whose rent was $4,500 a month. If you move from a place where your rent is $4,500 to $1,800, it's going to be a whole lot easier for you to pay off whatever that debt is. I don't know. I don't know how people feel about that, right? I don't know what it feels like to move into a new part of your life, but carrying this debt with you. That may be the reason that they don't want to, go until. But it's something to think about.
A lot of the people who teach abroad can pay down their student loans because their expenses basically go down to almost nothing. They're not having to pay federal income tax. And so now they've got this cushion that they can then, if they're choosing to pay off their loans, I don't think everybody got to, but for those who feel compelled to repay their student loans, often it's because they moved out and that's why they were able to do it.
Yeah. Yep.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, this is what I was going to say, because Stephanie mentioned she's not living on a budget. And so this is why I really wanted to have these two ladies here, because folks think you got to have all this money. Now, Roshida did a video on, what was that video called?
Women who moved abroad without a lot of money. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was one of the people in that video because as a public school teacher, I didn't have a whole lot of money. And I took a 65% pay cut when I moved to Honduras. Like I was making with 20 years of experience, I was at the top of the pay scale in Honduras, making less than I made when I started teaching in 1997. Okay. And Stephanie came back with $38 in her pocket and, decided, despite not having a job, that she was going to leave the US and live abroad. So you've got folks here who are now living and they're like, well, what is money?
Yeah.
And you've also got people here who have done it where they had to watch. So it's like, I thank you for dropping that in the chat. And I am going to, what do you call it? I'm going to put this video in the description because I think if you think money is the thing that's keeping you from moving abroad, I think watching that video is going to kind of move some things around for you and make you rethink it. So the other end is true. If you've got a substantial amount of money, whether it's from income or alimony, insurance money, whatever, you can go out there and live. Stephanie lives in a giant house for just $2,100 a month.
I was in Stephanie's house like, another room? Is another room?
I have plans for it. I'm gonna use the space. I promise. My landlord was like, "It's just you," and then I lied to her, and I was like, "My sister's coming to live with me. She lives in Mexico City." I couldn't figure out any other way to explain to her that. Yeah, I'll fill it up. It'll be filled up later.
I will say, unless you are independently wealthy in the US, you're not going to outrich the rich folks in the country that you're living in. No, but indeed. You can live very nice.
Even if you are independently wealthy in the United States, you're not outriching. You don't understand rich, right? Like you hit an Elon Musk rich, you're outriching the rich folks in other countries. Otherwise, there are rich people who were just not trying to be on the lists, right? There are rich people who are like, my money is my business fortune, right? You're not going to put me on no a no-hit list of who got the money. The rich people outside of the US are rich, in a way that it's really, really hard for Americans, Canadians, I would even say a lot of Europeans to understand, because that money long and
Old money.
old. That's old. I always say it's gold money. Them Spaniards came over here and took all them gold from them their hills. Still living off of it. Still.
Yeah. So when people are like, "But the kidnapping, aren't you afraid?" I'm like, "Child, there are much better targets." Okay, I am not. They are not interested in what they can get from me and my family. Believe me, there's better targets here.
I am a poor here, and I'm okay with that. Not and like that's a joke, because like yes, there is the wealth disparity here is very, very large in a lot of countries outside of it's bigger than outside of the US. And part of that is anytime there's a lot of poor, I saw this video every day on the internet. Anytime there's a lot of poor people, there's also a number of very, very wealthy people, and that's where the money is, right? The people are very, very poor because some people are very, very rich. So yes, I am middle of a line in Mexico, but I'm not a target, right? The people who are out here in their armored cars with their 4 security guards, they're the targets. I'm on the bus, right? Like, and I can be on the bus because I know ain't nobody worried about me, right? Ain't nobody worried about me for sex trafficking. Ain't no worried about me for ransom. Ain't nobody trying to take me to the ATM and use my code. The police aren't worried. I'm not gonna get hemmed up by the police. People see me and they're like, "Oh, there she go."
Yep.
Right? As an American, you're generally not a good target. Right? Generally, people believe the American government is going to do something to them if they mess with you. Not true. Factually inaccurate.
They do.
But people are like, I'm gonna lead them, right? Like I'm going to find someone in my own country, right, who I can catch slipping. I'm not an American. It's gonna be on the news, and then here comes the government trying to send in SEAL Team 6 or whatever. Not happening. But that's what a lot of people think is going to happen, and so ain't nobody worried about you.
We worked through that one day. Because generally, I think kidnappers kidnap folks for quick cash. You don't, and so we worked through that. Like, okay, so somebody kidnaps me. How are they going to get the money? I don't have family here who can go to the bank and get them the cash. So like it doesn't make any sense.
No. You feel comfortable, feel safer about that. Okay. Feel safer about that potentiality.
Now, I did see that girl got attempted to kidnap. She escaped in Tunisia, which I'm shocked by, because she's Black American. Like generally, nobody's checking for Black women. Not in that way, let alone Black American women. And I think it's an inside job with the hotel, because when she escaped and was like, call the cops, give me help, they ignored her.
Oh,
I saw something about it, but I didn't watch it because I think I saw one of those like reaction videos where there's just a man's face on the screen like nodding, and I don't do those. So I need to go back and find the original story. Because when I heard it, I was like, I don't know, because it sounds like dramatized a bit, but I'll go back and check that out.
Yeah, like I said, that defies what my experience has told me. But speaking of money, because I've got going down at the crawler below, I've got my link for y'all's summit that takes place next week.
Don't tell Roshida next week, please. Oh, I don't want her to freak out. Just tell her October 10th is the start. She don't know when that is. Okay, she don't know how far that is.
Thank you.
On October 10th, we will be starting the 6th Exodus Summit. We mentioned earlier that you have Exodus ASAP because you've been doing this summit all these years, where you have Black women come help other Black women move abroad, take a sabbatical, figure out how am I going to pay for this move abroad or this sabbatical? We mentioned there's going to be a panel for folks who are looking for kind of the no muss, no fuss way to go abroad. You can do that through teaching. I've done that, lived in 3 different countries doing that. What else are we going to have at the summit?
We have Rashida's, this is Friday, and Rashida's housekeeper is in her home cleaning on Friday. So sometimes she won't be able to unmute because you'll be here clang-a-lang, okay? That's what happens in Rashida's house in Mexico City on Friday.
Clang-a-lang. Clang-a-lang. Use her key, come in here and do whatever she wants for a couple hours. But
yes. That is one of the reasons that women leave the United States and move abroad, so that they can have some of these services done, so they don't have to be doing it themselves. Okay, so we have some. I would say they're kind of tracks, even though they're not really tracks. We have a track of sessions for people who think a traditional job or more traditional job is the path, but maybe they want a remote job, or maybe they want a job or do some contract work in the US for a few months out of the year, work part of the time, but make a full year's pay. So we have a session on working on contract work, on working for a few months at a time and making enough money to carry you for the rest of the year wherever you choose to live based on your budget, right? We have a session on using LinkedIn to find a remote job. We have a session on negotiating. Our speaker on negotiating, Jacqueline, she just posted on Instagram about one of her clients doubling her salary in a reasonable amount, in a short amount of time. So we have some sessions for people who think a job is my pathway to getting move abroad money. We also have sessions for people who are like, man, F them jobs. Okay, I happen to be team F them jobs. I'm unemployable. I can't imagine somebody telling me when to work and what I have to do, and right. So then we have some sessions on, if you think your intellectual property or the things that you know how to do are a way for you to make your move abroad money, we have some sessions for you. We have a session on freelance writing. We have a session, Arlen Hamilton is teaching our session on membership. So Arlen Hamilton is a famous Black woman investor, and people love to learn from her. And so she's created communities and memberships. So she's teaching our session on paid memberships and communities. Your know-how can be the way that you live abroad. Roshida and I don't have traditional jobs. Our know-how, our intellectual property, what we know how to do, we put out into the world for money. And that's how we live our lives. And so we have a full track of sessions on that, including premium course creation with Dr. Sonia Murray, freelancing, course creation, tax. So a couple of sessions for those of you who don't really think that, first, those of you who think maybe coaching and that kind of thing isn't the way, but I do want to be on my own. I don't want a traditional job, but I don't think it's coaching and, selling my intellectual property and courses and stuff. So the virtual assistant session, I'm super excited about, because when I left the United States and returned with my $38, the way that I left the next time and then didn't return again to live is by being a virtual assistant. A virtual assistant plus house sitting meant that I no longer had to look for a job. I don't think I'll have to look for a job ever again, I hope. Assistant is for those Black women who are like, I want to do something on my own to make money, but I don't really know what that thing is. We have a session on being a virtual assistant, and we have a session on being a tax preparer. And then we have a few sessions that aren't necessarily about making money, but about what the sessions that are going to make you, I don't know, let me just say, Adelia's session is on you putting your money to work, putting the money you have to work so that money makes money. Years ago on the Cosby Show, remember Vanessa was bragging to her little friends about how much they had paid for that paint. Her mom and dad had paid for that painting. And her mom was like, we're not rich. Rich is when your money works for you. We work for our money. We go to work every day for our money. Adelia's session is on putting your money to work, and Terry Ijioma's session on trading is, of course, on trading. And then Rashida's session is on knowing your numbers. Some of y'all, even in this chat today, think you need way more money to live your new life than you actually need. And so Rashida's going to help you do the numbers. That session alone is going to speed up so many people's timelines, because right now, listen, those of y'all who are talking about it's going to take me 5 years to be able to, I'm going to start my business, then it's going to take me 5 years. Girl, go to Rashida's session, get an idea of how much money you need, go to the virtual assistant session, learn how to put a product out or a service out into the world for X number of dollars, and then get them clients, right? We don't need a 5-year plan to start making the money to live. Girl, you only going to Ecuador, okay? You need $1,200 a month. That's 2 good virtual assistant clients. You're out the door. Let's speed this thing up. Anyway, Exodus Summit 2025 is online October 10th through 13th. And Adelia's link, please use Adelia's link, okay? Because using Adelia's link to register for the session means that Adelia gets an affiliate commission. It's not going to cost you anything additional, but it's a way for you to say, thank you, Adelia, for creating this space, for creating this platform, this channel, this community, so that we can learn from other Black women how to do this thing. So use her link if you don't mind. It's here on the screen. It's in the chat, in the description, and she'll put it in the chat so that you can register for Exodus Summit 2025 and let Adelia know that you appreciate her for creating what she has created and sharing so freely and openly on her platform.
We were talking about the money and the planning and all of that. And that's, I think, the same whether you're just getting ready to go or if you've been out for a while. But, we were saying that, yes, you can leave the United States or whatever country you're in and stay permanently, not have to go back. And I think I'm 50, you're 51. I don't know if Rashida be giving out her age like that.
It's a secret. No, I'm 46. I'll be 47 next year.
And that means we're talking about aging outside of the US.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about what that means, what that looks like for you. How are you in it? Because I think aging and healthcare, I think that goes together.
I'm excited about the prospect of aging outside of the US, right? I'm excited about the fact that I will be able to afford to have someone to come and take care of me and do the things I don't want to do. Because, I'm not going to want to go to the grocery store. These ladies be going to the grocery store forever, right? I see them out there. They're in their 80s. They've got a little cart. And maybe I want to do that. Maybe I don't, right? But the idea that outside of the US, getting in a number of countries, in probably the majority of the countries outside of the US, outside of Canada, outside of Europe, outside of like England, you can afford paying someone to support you as you age in place is extremely affordable compared to what is in the US. Brings me joy because listen, I don't have children. I also don't think it's fair to expect your children to do the work for you as you get older. But that's a different conversation for a different day. But I don't have anyone where I can be like, I need you to come change my diaper, right? Somebody else will have to do that. I personally would like it to be a monetary exchange, not an emotional exchange, right? I want someone to do it because they're like, she gives me money. I like that. Not because someone feels indebted to me because I have given them emotional labor for, life. Because that's just not what I want for my life. And so going to a place where not only will I be able to afford it, but old people are respected and treated well, right? I'm not expecting to end up in a home where I get beaten. I've been threatening my mom her whole life. Like, you keep messing with me, I'm sending you to a home where they beat you. I'm looking for the home where they beat you.
Where the homes do they beat?
Where's the list of homes where they be hitting you with the legs and not saying nothing? I'm not going to end up in one of those outside of the US because like in Mexico, old people are treated so well. It's really beautiful to see it. I expect that if I don't want to be in my own home, I want to be in another home. I'm going to be able to find well-priced care from people who care about elders.
Yeah.
And so Part of that is a lot of people are afraid to retire or stop working in any way because of what they believe their expenses are going to be in their old age. And for those of us who live abroad, that's not generally a deterrent.
That's a reason that retirees have kind of led the charge in moving abroad. Retirees were the first people who were like, oh, we in mass, we're going to another country. And it's because they get better health care at a better price and better individual like care and services. That's why. And so I feel very sad for people who are looking towards looking towards old age as though it's going to be could be financially ruinous. Old age or just any kind of medical emergency can be financially ruinous. And I think that's a reason to pack up your bags and go. That's a reason to go somewhere else, because I don't have to fear anything. Even my new insurance, she was like, we'll cover everything. Everything is covered, all this, right? Except if you're diagnosed with cancer in the first 6 months, your care is not covered. And I was like, you know what? First of all, I was like, well, let me not get any tests run for 6 months. But then also I was like, but I can't imagine it being, let's say I get a diagnosis and I need to pay for my own treatment in Colombia out of pocket. It's probably not going to ruin me, right? It's probably not going to ruin my life and bankrupt me like it would in the United States. So it's a reason to pick up and go. And I feel good about being here and being a person who's going to get older. I don't think I would feel that way in the US.
I think because like in Mexico, the waiting period would have been a year for the cancer. That's why I'm like, I think Colombia, the insurance is better there. But I feel like if you had to pay for treatments out of pocket, it absolutely would not be what it would be in the United States. There's pricing transparency here. I just got a ton of blood work done. A panel of like 45 different things, plus vitamin D and a urinalysis. And that cost, I think, $170.
No.
They come to your house if you choose for free.
Yeah.
So I didn't even have to get up and go anywhere. He came here and drew my blood in the living room. So it's not going to cost anywhere close to what it costs in the United States. But I think the really expensive thing here, because what we're not saying is that, particularly if you are trying to be gone permanently, you're going to need to figure out something for catastrophic care, because like surgery, that's where, or you have a hospital stay, that's where you could get into tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's where your insurance would cover. And then I was going to say something else after that. I am one of the children who was faced with a parent who could not care for themselves. My mother had a stroke at like 58, 59. She was diabetic, she was hypertensive, and she could not go back home. And this was in 2008. The nursing home, like a decent nursing home, was like $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what that costs now. And how are people going to pay for that in the United States, particularly when they cut back on Medicaid? Where here outside the US, like you said, you can pay for somebody to come, you can set up, I would advise everybody to do this. Rick and Halisi from Our Black Utopia have already started this. There is a sinking fund that they have specifically for elder care for themselves, so that when they are at a place, because they intend to age abroad, when they are at a place that they can't stay alone or what have you, there is money that has been invested growing that can pay for that they're not looking to do that out of their Social Security check.
Okay.
So
That's right.
that is something to think about. But like you said, Stephanie, it's absolutely a reason to go, not a reason to stay. As
Absolutely.
I was looking, I was comparing the prices of the various tests to get what my doctor asked for. And I just thought, like, I don't know that I could do this in the US because I don't know that they would have the pricing on the website.
Right. That's right. So in the chat, I saw, I can't scroll back. Someone said they had knee surgery and still in June, Flutter by PNW, knee replacement in June, still don't really know what it costs. Right. In the US, everything is just so shady and so.
And there's always another bill. Like, yes, you paid for the doctor, and yes, you paid for the hospital, but you didn't pay for the anesthesiologist, right? Like, that's a separate. How am I supposed to? Y'all can't just get together and tell me these are the 7 bills. Hey, these are the bills that are going to come ahead of time. Not even you can't give me the number. Let me know who am I paying for? I needed something done here, a procedure done here with the anesthesiologist. The doctor was like, this is the total number up front. For my help, for the anesthesiologist, for a nurse who will hold your hand, for the room, for everything up front. And then the question was, do you want to pay this or not? If you want to pay this, cash up front, baby. Pay us,
I was gonna
pay us
say,
now, right? And then after you're done, nothing. There's nothing to do. Nothing to sign. Just get out. You're out of here. Is this a number you're okay with? Yes, I am. Thank you. And it could be this simple, but they'd rather make it hard.
friend of a friend had surgery on their Achilles. And before they rolled him into surgery, the anesthesiologist showed up and the dude with this terminal to take payment. But everything that they were paying for was explained up front, very clear. And that to me makes a huge difference because then you can know. I've seen people posting about, like, my husband needs to have this surgery, and I've called around to these hospitals, and these are the prices. Does anybody know a place that's more or less or what have you? That to me is like revolutionary, because so much of dealing with healthcare in the United States is fear, because you have no idea how much it's going to cost you.
Fear is the point, I think, of a lot of
Yeah.
things. keep you away from accessing the thing. They don't want you to access it. They don't want you to get good care.
Fear and extraction of anything you have to our 10 favorite friends, right?
Yeah.
Cruelty. Yeah. Sharon says cruelty. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, y'all, Stephanie, you've been abroad 10 years, Roshida 7, I've been abroad 9. We plan to stay abroad. Do you have concerns about your life being empty because you are away from your friends and family in the United States?
I'm a very level person, so I have friends and family everywhere I go. No, like there are people in the US that I miss, but they can come visit me. We can go take a trip. I was just talking to my cousin this week about when she can come down and leave her children behind, because I don't feel like having no kid, like young kids. They're young kids. We need a girls' trip. My older nieces came to visit me this year. They're 23. They came and laid up on my sofa and my bed, my guest bed, for about a week. Their mom came before them. People will come. Listen, more people have visited me in Mexico than visited me when I lived in Columbus, Ohio. Definitely more people have visited me here.
For reasons.
For reasons. And it's really easy to make community when you live abroad if you want to make community and you live in a place where community is accessible. Stephanie's out here recruiting friends to Bogota, but I live in a place that already has a lot of Black women, right? And so there's a wealth of community options. For an introvert, it's almost too many options, but there's no downside because I don't have to go to anything I don't want to go to, right? Like, no one's like, well, Roshida didn't show up to my party, so I'm going to, she's blackballed. And if someone is doing that, I don't care, right? Because I want to be inside my own home, right? So yeah, because I have the time I have, right? I have time freedom now. I have a bit more money freedom now. I want to say I have a more full and complete social life than I had when I lived in the US. And part of that is in the US, a lot of the bonding I did was career wise or community wise related to like some work or like some bougie great blackness thing, right? And so no, I'm not going to happy hours anymore to complain about how terrible work is.
What's bougie great blackness, Roshida?
I was going to name some organizations, and then I was like, no, because someone's going to get mad at me. You know, like the Urban League, and like you know exactly what I mean, right? You gonna make me say it.
I wasn't in those circles,
Girl.
so I don't know nothing about that life.
I think the people who ask that question, girl, the call is coming from inside the house. Are you, is your life full today in the United States where you need to work 3 jobs to be able to just afford basic living expenses? Is your life empty or full? That's one of those questions, the safety question and the empty life question. I'm like, that's rich coming from you, right? Because girl, you have to, you are literally working 3 jobs to be able to live, just to be able to put a roof over your head, food in your belly, and maybe once in a while take a vacation. And you're asking me if my life is empty? Maybe we need to reevaluate what a full and empty life looks like. And that's what happened when I left the US, right? When I left, I got to look back at my life and be like, oh, I wasn't a whole person. I was just a worker. I just was a person who went to work and came back home and then tried to fit everything else in the little crack, in the little crevices that left. And being outside of the United States and seeing people they seem to have a full life. They're out here having dinner with their family. It's like 3 generations of people, and it's just Tuesday, right? It's just a Tuesday. They're all out here talking and relaxing and chatting and having conversation and really engaging with each other. Like that, in the US, that's when my life was empty. Maybe there are more people in the US who know me than here in Bogota. But I know me better here. And people will come and visit you, and you're gonna make friends and all of that. It's all, you're not going somewhere to just sit in a cave.
Yeah.
People might not come visit you.
Okay.
They may not come, and that's okay. I don't want people to be counting on that, because there's a lot of folks that don't come, that they know I live here or know I've lived wherever, and they've never come.
Okay.
Stephanie said earlier that she knows herself better in Bogota. I know myself better in Mexico City, and I like myself better in Mexico City. I like who I am. I like the life I live, right? I like that I get to say no to the things I want to say no to and yes to the things I want to say yes to. It's really nice. It's really nice to kind of liberate yourself from the rules everyone says you have to play by. Right? That's what true freedom is for me.
I think folks who envision being outside of their home country as being like empty and I'm not going to have friends or what have you, I think they forget that that's not the comment I meant to put up. Somebody had made a comment about they didn't think that their friends were in the US. And what I will say is that because the version of me here has a very clear idea of who she is and what is important to her and what she values, and the women that I meet also are very clear about who they are, what they want, and that sort of thing. And so I've had the opportunity to become friends with some incredible women that I don't know the way my life used to be that would have ever been possible.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Because where would you find people like that? The thing about leaving the United States and going somewhere is that some of the other people you will meet will also be people who picked up and went somewhere because they wanted to actively, in an in charge way, change their lives, right? It's you're not going to run into a bunch of people who are not like you, passive, who are, just hoping things will get better. You're going to run into people like you when you leave and go somewhere. Some of the other people you meet will also be people who left and went somewhere. And you're going to be like, I didn't know there were this many people like this. I didn't know that this was even a thing until I got here and got in community with everybody.
And because my current life isn't revolving around work or obligations or like a social group that I've joined years ago, maybe in college, I never have to see anybody I don't like, right? I'm never obligated to spend time with anyone who is not my cup of tea. Like I may have been in the US, like I'm trying to see Joni tonight, but if I see Joni, I know Sarah gonna be there, and never happens. It doesn't happen to me anymore, right? Because there are those like compulsory events don't exist in my life anymore. If I don't want to, like I said, if I don't want to go, I don't go. There's no nothing that I have to do. And part of that is a lot of times when we're in the US, our life we haven't made all our choices, right? Some of those choices are things that society put on us, our job put on us, where we live put on us, our parents put on us, and we've never really been able to get away from them. Moving abroad is your chance to cut all those ties you don't want anymore. It's a great time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just in case you didn't know, Roshida.
Thank you, Farida.
Didn't know.
We agree.
Were you going to say, Stephanie?
We agree with Farida. Viv was saying how you're glowing, Adelia. And I told her when I jumped on, I was like, you look so sexy, sexy. Yeah, I was like, where are you going today? Where are you going?
Nowhere. My day is great when I don't have to go outside. I went outside yesterday. I needed some thread for some projects that I've got on the cutting table. And so I went yesterday. I don't know. There was something else I needed to go outside for. And I was like, I'll knock these things out and be back in. I was outside less than an hour. And that is how I like it.
Yeah.
Most days.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So I don't know if we did it. I wanted us to talk about how you can move abroad and stay gone. I don't know if we did that. There was a question here for y'all. What if you want to do TEFL, even the school you want to go to? Should I still come to the summit? I want to, but I'm broke.
Go ahead, Roshida. Oh, are you still muted? Yeah. Okay. I would say if you think that there's look on the summit, click on Adelia's link, look at the other sessions and see if there's some other way that you want to add to, right? If there's another thing that you want to do. A lot of people in their lives feel really good when they have a more steady income source, like teaching abroad, and they have something with no ceiling. I think, listen, I am not a money expert, but I feel like trading is going to change my life, and I'm ready to start. So if you see another session on the summit that's interesting, then yes, register, come. Also, I think we have the same question with retirees who have a pension, they have the Social Security. Do I still need to come to the summit? If there's something else on the list that seems interesting to you, it's worth the money, come. But also, if you need or want some community, some friends, you're going to love the women in the Exodus Summit community, and you're going to love the women who come to the summit. It's informational. It's a conference and a workshop, right? But it's also a family reunion. They call it a family reunion. Mm-hmm. So if you need some women in your life who are talking like this, right, who are having this kind of conversation, who are making these kind of moves, then it's also worth it. Oh, Yvette Boone says trading also has definitely changed her life. I feel it. Listen, Roshida just found out that I can see the future a little bit. Okay. I feel like this is a thing that's coming for me. I've been resistant to the idea of trading because you have to be detail oriented, and I'm not that. And you have to be good with doing things on time, and I'm not that. But I think Terry Agioma is about to teach me some things that's good. Am I delusional, Adelia?
Um, Rochita will tell you a little delusion goes a long, long
Okay.
way.
Okay.
Um, I'm hoping you figure it out, and then you can tell me the lady girl way to do it, because right now that seems like too much like work for me.
So I want to go back to the question Key had. Stephanie said, if you are retired, and you're not worried about money, you may not need it. Backing up a second, if you're retired and you have money coming in, learning how you can better use the money that's coming in so it works for you in Adelia section is going to be really helpful. Like, without a doubt, that's going to be helpful. But what I would say is that if anyone, to be very clear about how I believe Exodus Summit works, if anyone can look, if you can look at the calendar and look at all the different sessions and say, I don't see a way to get the ticket price back. I don't see a way that I can do work. Right now, the weekend pass is $109. If you look at it and say, I can't see a way to make $109 from the summit, do not buy a ticket. Everybody else come through, right? If you could look at it and say, if I can learn how to be a VA, I can get $100 back in a week, right? Or I can get $109 back from learning how to do taxes or something like that. And it's something I think I could do and only work seasonally and live off the rest of the year on the money. Because the amount that the person who's teaching the tax session, the amount she makes in a season is enough for a lot of y'all to live really well in a lot of places.
Yes.
Now, if you can't look at the schedule and see something that will give you $109 that you actually want to do not buy a ticket.
Yeah.
Great. There's no
$109 is bargain is not a strong enough word. Like, when I'm thinking about what these women, myself included, charge for a one-on-one or a course or what have you, $109. Like, that's chump change.
That's right. I don't know a woman on the calendar who you could get this an hour of their time or whatever for $100. I don't think not one. Okay. Okay. Some of their coaching and stuff is 5 figures. That's 5 figures. Yeah. Some of their coaching costs 5 figures.
Yes.
Right. I don't know. Some of these women I have paid for coaching before. That's how we know. That's how we have paid some of them for coaching before. It did not cost us $109.
Now, that's not to say that everybody has $109 right now. Yeah. Times are tough, and we get it. But there's a difference between not having $109 to spend on the summit and not wanting to spend $109 on the summit, right? And that's a difference only you can address. If you don't have the money for a ticket inside of our Heartbeat community, there's a way to ask for a gifted ticket. You can find the Heartbeat community at exodussummit.com/community. We already have more ticket requests than we have tickets to give away, right? These are tickets that were donated by members of our community, so they're not free. Someone paid for them. We already have more requests than we have tickets, but it is a way to ask. As of right now, at least one out of every 3 requests, only 1 out of every 3 requests is going to be granted. And by the time it closes on Sunday, I'm guessing it's going to be closer to 1 out of 10 people will be able to get a ticket. So if there's any way, so do not come and ask for a ticket if there's any way you can pay for it yourself, and do not ask for a ticket if there's any way. And if you ask for a ticket, understand that you may not get one just because there aren't enough to go around.
Yeah, Rashida's talking about the donated tickets. Women in our community put money together to donate tickets to Black women who would not otherwise be able to come. People, I should say people, because I think we got a donation recently from a man. He was like, I hope this is okay. I was like, yes, it is. Yes, it's okay. People put money together. Adelia's dropped her link in the chat for the summit. Go use this link, look at the schedule, and then go and get your ticket, okay?
Yes.
You're muted, Adelia.
If I was ready to go right now, what is my next move? I'm debt free and I'm ready for Mexico.
All right. Book your flight. Well, you got to make a plan for your home and everything in your home, right? Your home and every single item in there. You need to make a plan for that. You need to get in community in the place you're considering going, right? Find community in those places. The thing about people who move abroad is they love to share information because they want you to move abroad too. So there are probably communities in any city or town you could be thinking about moving to. There are probably communities of other people who have moved there who can give you good info. And book your ticket.
Book your ticket. Like I said, I booked my ticket, stayed in an Airbnb for a couple of weeks. It can be more complicated than that. It doesn't have to be more complicated. Deborah, I see you saying I get paid on Friday the 10th. Please don't raise the price till after 12 p.m. The ticket price goes up like midnight Eastern time of a night. So on the 10th, the price will be higher. Yeah. It's a system setting. We can't change the timing of that.
It's worth the money. Listen, Deborah, no matter what, listen, it's no matter, even if you paid the highest ticket price, right? It's worth it. Okay. Just make sure that you purpose in your heart. Make sure that I've gotten a new expression. It's my new favorite expression. Make sure you purpose in your heart to make that money back.
Oh,
right?
Purpose in your heart. Where'd that come from?
No, I don't know. I believe it's something Connie Perry be saying. Okay. Make sure that you make a plan to get that money back. Come to pick some sessions and decide that I'm going to get it back.
Mm-hmm. That's an important thing. Approaching the summit with the mindset that there is something here and I can do this thing and I will make this money back, as opposed to, well, I don't know, because you can look at the schedule right now and you know what your skill set is, you know the things you are willing to do for money. Right. And you can look at that list and say, okay, there are 3 things, not that you got to do all of them, but it is good to have that purpose in your heart that at least one of these things, I'm going to do it and make some money.
Yes. Kyoka has a comment that I wanted to highlight, and she says, it's worth it. I did my first summit in October 2022 and got abroad January 2023. That's 3 months. 3 months. Even if you need to save more to feel comfortable, you'll get strategies and community to help you plan. We didn't pay her to say that. We don't pay her nothing for nothing.
Nothing. That's right. No. This is our 6th year running or hosting Exodus Summit, and we do it because it gets results. It gets Black women and their families out the door. And I don't know about you, but I think it's about time to make your plan to get yourself and your family out the door.
Yes. Ailey asks, can't this be paid with PayPal or Affirm? PayPal is added to our site this week. Our system added PayPal this week. We added it immediately, so you can do PayPal now. And you can do it with some of the Afterpay Affirms, but you have to be logged in and know I don't know the details, right? You got to be like logged into the system and then come in, and it should pop up as an option. If it's not popping up as an option, it's going to charge you straight. It's not going to charge you as the in payment plan and payments. So just be careful with that.
That's right. Okay. She has both. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you're logged in. When you go to the checkout, you should see the choices. I've seen some things come through that say Afterpay, Affirm, Klarna. That's on you. It's on your end, not on our end.
Okay. I think Roshida can answer this question. I could too. Would you have moved abroad differently if you were younger and hadn't created your retirement beforehand?
If I had known what life could be like when I was abroad, I would not have been so worried about saving for retirement. Right? I was a person who was like, I need to have a really firm foundation because I recognize that like it's gonna cost me like, I don't know, 100 grand a year when I'm older and retire. You know what I mean? Like, unless I want to make some children slaves and have them do everything for me, it's gonna run my pockets, right? Knowing what I know now, but I can get great care for significantly less money, knowing that I'm now at an age, I'm an early retiree, so I can't even really touch that money without paying the government more than I want to pay the government.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been so worried about it because like I'm thriving out here without touching retirement funds, right? So they're not really impactful on my life right now. Will they be impactful in the future? Yes. Will I need them to be as impactful as I thought I did? No. So knowing what I know now, I would have left 20 years ago. Right.
My advice, because absolutely, my advice to young people, because young people should leave the United States and they should move abroad. I don't want anybody thinking that this is just for older folks. I was 41 when I left. It'd have been great if I could have left in my 20s. I think the only difference is, because as Roshida pointed out, if you're using traditional retirement vehicles, you can't really touch that money too early without having to pay a penalty. And this is also true for the folks, like if I had continued to teach abroad, my retirement was going to be on me. Is that if you're not in a country that has a pension system for retirees, or that a country like Mexico has one, but you don't have to depend on that when you don't work anymore, is you have to take control of that. Uh, but I think everything we said here would apply to somebody in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. The only difference is you would have to be more intentional about putting that money to work to fund retirement, maybe than we have been in the US.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw an interview with Roy Wood Jr. and she was like, "Any advice for young people?" And he was like, "Leave, right? Leave." Um, yeah, I agree with that. If I were a young person without, like a young person whose knees bent, all the way and stuff, listen, I would make maybe teaching abroad, right? Teaching TEFL, teaching English abroad, or we talked to somebody yesterday who worked on a cruise ship on a right. I would do one of those things and just be gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier, and I would live the most free and irresponsible life I possibly could. Maybe house sitting plus work exchanges or something, and not put on the stresses and stressors of the United States, not put on the stressor of home ownership, even car ownership. Owning a car really kept me poor for quite a while. I shouldn't say poor because that's an exact. Really kept me broke for all of my 20s, right? Between the car and the insurance and the maintenance and the whatever, I had no extra money. If I could have been in a place where I didn't need a car, life would have been so different for me. So if I were a young person, or just a person being okay with doing things a little non-traditionally, I would put a couple of these things together. Maybe teaching abroad, maybe work exchanges, right? Maybe house sitting, maybe working on a cruise ship or a yacht. I would pick a yacht over a cruise ship, I think. Except for on the yacht, you have to be closer with the passengers and they might be jerks. So maybe a cruise ship. I would do some of this stuff and I would get out today, or get out as quickly as possible.
I would also, I'm going to put this out here because maybe you've got somebody who is contemplating college, or there are some people in your family, in your community that are contemplating college. I would really sit down with them and encourage them to go to school outside the US for a multitude of reasons. One, academic freedom in the United States is becoming less and less every day. Just saw something today where they were saying, if you teach this, we will give you more money. If you teach this, we will defund you. There's that. There's also the cost of it. I don't think student loan forgiveness is going to be a thing by the time it's all said and done. They virtually eliminated most of those options now. They've also limited and capped. I don't think anybody should be taking out student loans, but I understand for some people that is the path they choose, but they have capped the amount that you can take out for a student loan. And given the cost of going to school in the United States, those two things do not go together. I would be imploring any young person in my life to look at going to school abroad, because that's the easiest way to get a foothold in another country, is to be there on a student visa, finish your degree, because they're looking to attract talent. In addition to all the benefits we've stated so far.
No, I know that our government is currently trying to destroy education, but I'm so fascinated at this attempt to like really get rid of higher education, because you're making it so Americans can't afford it, or only the people who can go are the richest Americans. But you're also making it harder for rich foreigners who've been coming to this country for 100 years or more to get educated here. You're making it harder for them to come. Who's going to be paying to go to Columbia and NYU and Harvard? Who? The college, them schools are going to go out of business. They are businesses that are going to go out of business.
That's the plan.
The right hand does not have any idea what the left is doing. They don't understand that it is the international students and their exorbitant fees that are keeping the whole thing afloat.
It's insane. It's insane. But so I don't know, but I would want my child in a U.S. college, because one, what they're, like you said, what they're getting taught, and two, this thing go under in like 3 months. All those times we saw like Black schools failing, we're gonna see a whole lot more schools failing. It's not just gonna be HBCUs or small schools. We're going to see larger schools fail, because who's going to be paying for their child to go learn whatever PragerU is teaching, but paying 6 times the price at some other place?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
F Doctor wants to know, where would you like to see the Exodus Summit movement in the next 5 years?
It would be amazing if Exodus Summit didn't need to exist in 5 years, because Black women decided that they were going to leave and then left. It would be amazing if we didn't have to exist in 5 years, because Black women said, what we want for our lives, we can actually get if we pick up and go to a place. Not necessarily there's no perfect place, but there is a better place. It would be amazing if Roshida and I were retired, like officially retired from Exodus Summit in 5 years. I have a vision. Okay, we have a vision for that. And that would be amazing. You help us get there. Okay.
Right.
By attending the summit and doing what you learn in the summit. Execute, right?
Yes.
Attend and execute. I think, is that an accurate answer?
I think so. I think that when we say we don't want help us, just to be clear, Stephanie doesn't mean buy a ticket so we can get the money. Stephanie means buy a ticket so you can do the thing, because neither one of us does this for money. And we like the money. We like to spend the money. But the amount of money I make from the summit is not a reason for me to do the summit. It's not a reason for me to do the summit. The reason for me to do the summit is because it makes a difference in Black women's lives. And every year, Black women who need it come back from it and their lives are changed, right? And so I get to do something that I find a lot of value in and I get paid for, right? Which is what I want for all of you. That's why we have Move Abroad Money. We want you to do something that you find value in, you're helping people with, and you can make money from. But there's the idea that enough of us are talking about moving abroad and comfortable with the idea of moving abroad in 5 years. And someone else, someone younger, someone whose knees bend all the way can do the work, right? We bury the summit and someone else is out there with a nice, shiny idea. Great. And let me say this to the youth coming behind us. This is going to be a real inside baseball comment. You don't get to be Exodus Summit by shading Exodus Summit. I'm going to leave that there because I see y'all online. The youth coming behind. I see you.
What they say, Roshida?
Girl, I'm not even gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna talk about the specific person because I know who you are. But like you can, the reason the summit works is we focus on the good things. We focus on the positivity. Mm-hmm. So if you want to make sure you're separating yourself and you're not like us, which direction are you going in? Because sometimes it's negative. Hi, friends. Hi, friends. No, we want everyone to win. You forget.
I don't put two and two together, so I'm gonna need some additional information later.
Adelia knows. You forget when people are shady. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I do not forget. No, we want people coming in the flow of traffic. When I say behind, that's what I mean. In the flow of traffic and helping other people with goodness in their hearts and kindness in their heart and generosity, because that's how we live and how we practice what we do. And not everybody out there is doing that.
Yeah.
Some people are like, I can make a buck. Let's make a buck. And that's just that. That's part of the reason that like we're retiring. It feels a little complicated now because we know what we do is good and gives value. We want other people to be out there doing good and giving value. And we see it in our community. I'd love to see more of it. Right. If you know a person that we know in Exodus Summit, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people outside of the community when I talk about shadiness. Outside.
We do have a fantastic coaching tree. Mm-hmm. Right, the women who've done a thing, who've moved abroad or whatever, taken sabbatical or whatever, and now are helping other women in their own. We do have a wonderful coaching tree, and so that when it's time to close it down, that doesn't mean that's going to be the end of the work, and we'll still get to take some credit because the women, right? That's how coaching trees work. Mm-hmm. There'll be a time when we won't do this anymore. I hope it's because we don't have to. I hope it's because Black women as a whole say, we're done trying to fix this rotten, messy, festering shithole. Do you swear over here, Adelia? Poop hole.
All the time.
Okay, you do. Okay.
That's one of those things this version of me, I don't censor. I say what I'm going to say, and I say it how I'm going to say it. So
my dad was like, you be cussing on your channel now? I said, well, I turned 50, so I finally am set free. He was like, my pastor's wife, I went to a funeral and the pastor's wife says she watches you. I was like, oh no, she be hearing me cussing. And then he was like, you cuss on your channel? I'm like, well, I'm 50 now. Yeah, I hope that I hope that Black women will be like, we're done trying to fix this place. I think that's our main competition. The real competition is not somebody. The real competition is feeling loyalty to the United States of America in an unnatural and undeserved way. If you feel like you're supposed to stay in that country and fix that country, why? 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 Sarah, that's a real question. Why? That's the real battle. That's what we're fighting. That's what we're fighting against. And I hope in 5 years that battle is unnecessary.
We have a couple of questions here that kind of ask the same thing about because versus like when we were talking about like being gone, staying gone, coming back to visit, as well as for people who are maybe unsure if now is the time to make that move, do we think it is going to be more difficult to leave?
We have never lived in tumultuous times like this before, right? We have never lived with America never lived in a government that was trying to make the country less stable. So my answer is I can't call it. Listen, in a year from now, he might say like N-words, here's a ticket to go anywhere in the world that is not the US. Or he might say, y'all can't go because you got DEI and that was reparations. Now you got to pay it back in this field here, picking Trump strawberries.
Could say, y'all they could strip us of our passports, and
You're not really citizens.
right, who knows what could happen.
Can't call it.
That is a concern because there was a recent court decision that puts back on track their desire to remove birthright citizenship,
Yeah,
and that's all tied to how we got our citizenship. So that makes me very nervous.
yeah,
I
yeah,
It is unprecedented, so we don't know, but it's something I've given some thought, which is one of the reasons I made sure the rest of my immediate family got passports this year, because things if shit hits the fan in such a way that they need to get out, I didn't want not having a passport to be a thing that kept them there, that slowed down, assuming, because when I think about how these things have gone historically, there are times when even when you have the right paperwork, they still won't let you travel.
mhm,
So it is definitely something that I have thought about.
yep. And how many shutdowns before the passport office doesn't reopen, right? How many more shutdowns before the systems that you think are there to, you know, keep, you know, protect you or give you a way out? How long before that doesn't even exist anymore?
And the Supreme Court right now is just like, what can we do, sir? What would you like us to do? And so the checks and balances that we all grew up hearing about on Schoolhouse Rock and everywhere else are just gone,
And no
right?
more.
And no more. I would say that there are, I hate to be the person that says like, now is the time, because now is not the time for everybody. But if you can make it your time, it's a good idea. At least to try it, right? Get acclimated to it, see what you like and see what you would do differently. One of the issues that people are having coming to Mexico right now is a twofold issue to get visas in Mexico. We talked about this last night in coaching. People are having a hard time getting appointments in consulates for two main reasons. One, consulates in the US are there, in any country, are there to serve as citizens of that country. So consulates in Mexico's main goal is to serve Mexican citizens abroad. Mexican citizens are having a hard time, right? They coming into apartment buildings in Chicago and putting the cuffs on everybody, right? Don't matter if you're legal, don't matter what you can prove, everybody going to jail. So citizens of a lot of countries are having a hard time. And the demand to go abroad is higher now. So there's less availability of appointments. Even of the ones that are available, it's harder to get them. I don't see that getting any easier, right? If you're looking to, that's why bopping around is often right now, if you need to leave, it may be a bop around instead of a, I have permanently moved to this country, because I don't think moving abroad is going to get easier or less expensive in the next few years, right? There may become a time post-coup where things are different, but I don't trust y'all to coup anyway, because there are impediments that other countries don't have, right?
Adelia, but California is about to break off. Isn't that what's happening? California will soon be independent. INDE.
I don't know if it's just going to be California. We might end up with kind of this West Coast alliance.
Yes.
Several states' governors are talking to each other about how to defend themselves against the federal government. Like, that is not a good sign.
Right.
And if you think about the history of the United States, the whole reason that it even exists, like, they didn't want to be together. This whole idea of like a single solid nation, that's the underpinning of this country. So to see it break into several pieces, I don't think is out of the scope of possibility.
Yeah.
How exactly that might go down, I think that's the piece that remains to be seen. But I do have a hard time believing the United States can stay the entity it is, given the actions of the federal government and how they are in opposition to what so many people want.
Yeah.
So I struggle with the idea that, like, if California tried to leave, that man would have the military invading to get them to stop. But also, perhaps because he's the egomaniac, he might be like, well, if they leave, those are people who didn't vote for me. I don't want them anyway. And now I can concentrate. I can have more concentrated power. I feel like if he's still alive when California tries to leave, he might be like, whatever. But if someone else,
the next one, now, the VP, if the VP is in charge,
it's going to be a war.
It's war.
It's war.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think it is going to be, because California voted here to put it on their ballot for them to succeed. Technically, you cannot secede legally. There is the union is one of them things you join once and you in it forever.
Right.
But I could see his ego being such that it's like, those weren't my voters anyway. Let them go. Because these people don't understand how anything works.
No.
And that there are donor states, and that if the donor states leave, y'all don't have no money.
And that's why I think the VP would fight it more than the current P, because that would be ego versus, like, can this country survive? Yeah. I saw something, I didn't get a chance to look into the details of it, but I saw something that said that he's changing something and it impacts 16 states. And in each of those 16 states, Kamala won. So he's like punished, specifically doing things to punish states where he did not get the majority of the vote. But it's also, those are the states that generally have the money that runs.
Yes.
That's right.
And the states that generally pay the tax dollar, like, and
have the having access to the seaports is super important. The Mid-Atlantic, let the Mid-Atlantic states decide that they're also going to break off. Problem. Right now everything all you got is Florida and the Texas Gulf of.
But what I see, and I was talking to Halisi about this the other day, what I see being a bigger issue before we get there is because, I'm not a math person, but I am a money person. I would be very concerned about carrying debt in this environment. Because there are things happening that don't make any sense from a capitalist point of view, particularly an economy that's about consumption of consumer goods. You are raising prices, wages are stagnant. Okay, the cost of living goes up every day, but my income doesn't. How do I close that gap? I put it on my credit card. Well, at some point, it's going to be where people cannot afford to do things anymore. And I would not be shocked if we see debtors' prisons come back.
Okay.
I definitely think so. I definitely agree.
Particularly because we've got this for-profit prison network, and they need to feed bodies into that. We've already criminalized homelessness. They're trying to criminalize having mental health issues. Why not criminalize debt? That gives you a huge pool of people you can exploit. So
a huge pool of people you can put in federal prison in red states that now count for the electorate in the red state, even though they can't vote.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And they can be slaves. They can work for free because you compel them to. So that's something I am concerned about. But
so I was going to ask you about the credit card. So credit card is not a good backup plan. So the women in the chat earlier who were like, I don't have the extra. I don't have any cushion.
In this moment, I think it is, particularly if you're leaving.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Because how they get that money?
Okay.
So yeah, no, I think that is because if you're going to use a credit card as your backup, as your OG fund or whatever, I think it is important to understand you have to kind of continue to play the game, because we talked about this before. You act up on one card, the card that you're saving for your emergency, they see you acting up on that other card, they can close your account, they can reduce your limit, there are things they can do. So if that is part of your plan, you do have to continue to play the game to a certain extent.
Okay.
But I wanted us to end on a brighter note.
If we
You
can
got a
find one.
brighter note over there?
Yes. Apparently, a week from today, Exodus Summit starts. We have a beautiful keynote that's going to come to us from Rachel Rogers, who is the CEO of Hello 7 and helps Black women and women of color become millionaires, right? She recently moved her family, her large family, husband, children. I've never counted the children, but I
It's
think
a gang of kids. It's like a sports team full of children.
It's children. Move them to Portugal, and she's going to come and talk to from a perspective of someone who is making money, helping other people make money, and living her best life abroad. She's going to come and give us some words of wisdom. And so I think that my bright spot, when y'all say 7 days, I'm like, that's not true, but I get to hear Rachel in 7 days. Like the summit doesn't start in 7. The summit does not start in 7 days, but you get to hear Rachel in 7 days. That's my delusion happening up here right now. Thank you.
Good.
We
Good.
can
I like how you work that out.
reframe that. We can reframe that. Well, thank you, ladies, for coming, because I know it's summit season and y'all are super busy. So I appreciate you taking a bit out of your schedule to come out and hang out over here. There is a link in the description if you still need to get your ticket to the summit. I am going to add the link to Rashida's video. For folks who are concerned with, okay, how do people do it? How do people move when they don't have a lot of money? And I think that's it.
Thank you so much for having us on, Adelia. Always a pleasure. And thank you, everybody in the community, in the chat. Nice to see you guys.
We were here for a good long time today. Thank you, guys.